All right. Hey, people, welcome back to my stream. And we're going to be streaming until like, I don't know, sometime around 10 or 11. It's currently 8:46. So let's see how much we can do today. I mean, we're continuing where we left off. We just started door 5. All right. Let's get started. It had been several days since I left the capital, and I could still see it when I closed my eyes. The people lined up on the Grand Pont, awaiting entry, eager to start a new life there, bringing with hope. It was a city people were willing to pay high taxes to live in. Oh, I know that situation. If you were a performer, you could get some of those costs shaved down a bit by putting those skills to use. The capital was harsh on those who wanted in and apathetic about those all who left. It was composed of powerful nobility and clergy, wealthy merchants and bankers, and a large population of the poor. And it was a city I had called home for a long time. I didn't know much about where I was heading. It's getting foggy. Looks like it might rain. Maybe we should take a little break. You want to keep going? Oh, all right then. The coachman was frustrating to attack him. He acted as though he got stuck transporting a prisoner. Though that was hardly a stretch. From his point of view, I was nothing more than a criminal. Even the times he would acknowledge I had said anything, he made no effort to hide the scorn in his eyes, to pretend he didn't regret ever taking this job, and I would just fall silent again. The road was gradually getting narrower. We had long since left the paved city wall roads behind, and we were now traveling along a couple worn-down grooves in the forest. How did I end up here? Why was I being subjected to this? I was done thinking about it. The more I thought on it, the less fair it seemed. And the more I remembered, the worse it hurt. All I could do anymore was close my eyes and weather the storm. Deep within the dense woods, a mansion appeared before us like the world fading into the view after a dream. It didn't seem like to be a especially large house, but it had obviously been constructed with a great deal of care, and it was, thankfully, not standing in ruins. This deep in the forest, the carriage came to a stop, and the coachman climbed down, signaling with his chin for me to get out. Thank you very much. You must be tired after such a long journey. This is the mansion I am looking for, yes? But the driver didn't even acknowledge me. Getting back on the carriage and setting off into the forest, he seemed to want to get as far away from here as quickly as possible. I could have said something. Oh well. That was all about I could say anyway. Oh well. I couldn't blame anyone for me being here, or for his wanting to get out. I should get going, I guess. Getting a better look at it, the house's windows were, strangely enough, all shuttered. It was probably dark as pitch inside. Does no one live here? But if that's the case, then why was I placed my hand on the front door. Such a big door. What if I couldn't get in? I had no idea what else there was in the area. If the door didn't open, then I would die out here in the forest. I've come to accept much, but I was not ready to forfeit my life yet. Please, open. It's not locked, I guess. The door was heavy, and though it seemed to protest my attempts to enter, it still opened much easier than I was expecting. I was worried over nothing. Looking in, I got the strangest impression the light was being swallowed into the mansion steps. Rather than going inside, it felt as though I was about to step outside the boundaries of this world. When I closed the door, it was so dark I couldn't even tell where I was walking. I wonder, if the window's open, do I manage to pummel my way over to one window? It was slightly shuttered, and the shutters cracked with the rust. I was probably not getting it open without a fight. Darn! Not a hint of light. I couldn't even see my hand waving in front of my face. It felt as though the floor would fall out from under me, and I would sink into the eternal darkness if I didn't watch my step. Fighting back that fear, I slowly walked forward, tracing the wall with my hand. There was a door at the end of the long corridor. I pulled it open, and a whisk of bone-chilling air brushed past me. It was too dark to see anything, but I could feel something different present in this area than the rest of the house. Uneasiness gripped me. Hello? Is anyone there? Please, don't tell me it's actually abandoned. I suppose I can't know without looking around a bit more. My voice was simply disappeared into the void. No response. As I pushed forward through the freezing air, for a split second I spotted the shimmer of light. Squinting my eyes, I was able to make out a large window. Unlike the others, it wasn't shuttered. What do we have here? Drapes? I see a little light beyond. My chances were slim, I imagined. But if there was even a slight possibility of getting some light in here, it was worth a shot, so I pulled open the drapes. The next moment, the faint but colorful light shone down on me. It was a stained glass window. From beyond the glass, I could hear the subtle pitter-patter of rain. It had finally started, it seemed. The different colors of light blended into a milky white, dim but wondrous. It's so pretty. It looks like an angel? Why would someone cover this up? It's beautiful. With a little more light, it'll be... Please, do not touch the drapes or the windows. Suddenly, I heard a voice. I could sense someone else in the room. The man's voice was emotionless, neither deep nor high. Before long, he came into view, illuminated by dull orange candlelight. I'm sorry for coming in uninvited, but I did announce myself. The man stood there, practically blending in with the darkness. Had he been there the whole time? He had been staring straight at me. His gaze wavered slightly, but not enough for me to read anything in it. Then again, I could hardly make out any detail at all under the light of the single candle. Is this... your mansion? It is. Thank goodness. I was afraid it was deserted. I suspect you would have preferred it if the house were abandoned. Oh, not at all. I would be scared to death of staying in a dark mansion all by myself. I'm sorry. No ill will intended, but I do think it could do with some light. That way, you could see where you were walking, and I'm sure this room would look splendid illuminated. Not necessary. I make do perfectly well as things are. How can you see when it's so dark? I have abundance of candles and oils for lamps. I am not in want of means of creating light. It is not your place to criticize my lifestyle. If you need light, you are free to leave. If you are in need of money, help yourself to some furniture. There's a village not far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to a larger town. I am no longer able to freely return to the city. I cannot go back there. Please, don't chase me out. I see. And do you ask this of me, aware of how people refer to this mansion? They say that a witch lives here. Not merely a witch. A curse witch. If you remain here, you too shall likely suffer your own destruction. You're worried for my well-being? Witch or not, my mind is made up. I was sent to this cursed witch mansion to atone for my transgressions back in the city. It didn't matter what lived here. I had no choice. Which will strike you first, I wonder? Regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real, very much so. It's not a legend nor a fairy tale. The witch. The witch's name was Morgana. Is me. Yes, that was our first encounter. It was nothing flowery or dramatic. It was rather laced with superstitious awareness. We knew nothing about one another, and I had no interest in changing that. But nonetheless, that was where it all began, where my history with her commenced. The woman had jade eyes, open wide. They glimmered like jewels in the light shining through the stained glass window. She seemed to be at loss for words. I wasn't lying per se. The rumors said a witch lived in this house, and I was the only one who filled that criteria. The said rumors could be interpreted to be talking about me. After staring at me dumbfounded for a few moments, the woman suddenly burst into laughter. Oh, wow. And here I was thinking you were kind of scary. It turns out you're actually quite funny. What? I never would have guessed you were someone to tell such a ridiculous joke with a straight face. I wasn't. You don't look at it. You don't look at all like a witch. I mean, it's dark, and I can't really see. But you seem to me like a rather handsome man. The word witch. The word witch has a broader meaning than just a woman who practices magic. Any unholy person with cursed powers, man or woman, can be considered a witch. I think I get what you're trying to say, but my mental image of a witch is definitely more of a woman. So you're not a witch. To tell you the truth, I didn't know who might be here, which had me rather scared. But I think I can make this work. What do you? It's a pleasure to meet you, Master. Master? I was sent here from your old home. I was an Abigail for your mother, but, well, I might have made a little goof. I froze the moment the word left her mouth. Home. It rattled around my skull, shaking my terrible memories that almost brought me to my knees. Why, after these years, were they reaching out to me now? I'm not even sending someone to bring me back, just sending someone. To what end? For what purpose they have shipped an Abigail out this remote mansion? What was my mother thinking? Was this another one of her attempts to break my curse? What do you mean, you made a little goof? My voice came out weak. I did my best not to show it on my face. It was a teeny tiny mistake. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. What did Mother say about me? Well, it was actually your father who told me to come here. I never really spoke to your mother much. Father sent you? That made even less sense. Why would he have? Did father even know I was here? No, if he had known, I would have been... Who was this woman? And what was her goal in asking to stay here? Well, there you have it. I'll be here for a while. If you need me for anything, do not hesitate to ask. I'm confident I can handle most everyday tasks. Now, where should I begin? Oh, I know. Are you hungry, Master? Food. I can't imagine you eat much being as skinny as you are. I turned my back on her without responding. No matter what her goal was, she was sent from that house. There was no way anything good could come at that, and there was no way I could live with someone who has ties to them. I prayed she might take the hint, give up, and leave. Master! And so I kept ignoring her. Master! Master! I ignored. Master! I ignored her. Master! What would you like for supper? Nothing! But failed, spinning back and shouting. Her eyes went wide, and she gave a sheepish giggle. I glared at her as she fidgeted uncomfortably. Eating is one of the most basic human needs, so if you're hungry, you should really eat. I said I didn't want. What was that sound? Must you ask? That's not a very polite thing to ask a lady, you know. Huh? It was a long trip, and all I had to eat on the road was dried fruit. I felt like I was some kind of animal. So, what I'm trying to say is that I'm, hungry. That wasn't the sound of her stomach growling, was it? I thought lightning had struck in the distance. And Would, would like some supper. The kitchen is at the far end of the hall of the first floor. There's food in the cellar. Help yourself to any of it. Thank you so much. I honestly feel like I haven't eaten in days and I'm about to die of starvation. Oh, and I shouldn't need any help finding it. I plan on exploring the house anyway. It's rather exciting being in a new place. Ah, damn it. That did not go as planned. Oh well. She can do as she pleases. I'll have nothing to do with it. Oh, Master, are you sure you don't? No. Master. Master. What is it now? My name is Giselle. It's a pleasure to meet you. And your name, Oh, Master, you. I actually left the room that time, making my way back to my chambers. At some point, I would seriously have to chase her out, especially considering she had come from that house. But regardless, I was not terribly fond of her. I didn't really understand Michelle, but that was probably because we were still essentially strangers. Having sent to the mansion as reparations for my mistakes, I wasn't sure who I might find there, but I was tentatively convinced he wasn't a terrible person. He didn't do anything to me except stay away. Michelle spent most of his time in his chambers, which he had told me to never enter under any circumstances, so we rarely encountered one another in the halls. For that reason, I made an effort to be kind and cheerful on sporadic occasions that we did cross paths. I figured if I keep that up long enough, he would eventually warm up to me. And as the new housemates, being able to enjoy our time together was obviously preferable to the alternative. If I did manage to break the ice, I hope we could be able to do some talking about the mansion, about him, and about me. I just had to keep working at it. Michelle didn't need me to take care of him. He handled his own day-to-day needs and activities by himself, and in fact he didn't ask me for anything. As an aristocrat who had no use for a servant, I haven't met anyone like him before. Alright then. That meant that about all I could do was clean. I wasn't sure how his room looked, but the rest of his house was, quite frankly, an absolute disaster. The dust was so heavy it was obvious it had been touched in years. Let's get started. I couldn't be healthy to live in these conditions, so I set out to clean each room of the house one by one. That said, it wasn't going to be an easy task, not because I was bad at cleaning. In fact, I considered myself quite good at it, but because it was near impossible to find all the dust and grime needed cleaning under the flickering light of a candle. I can't understand how anyone can say he can live in this darkness. What's wrong with him? Maybe he's actually a vampire. Sorry, I suddenly remembered Twilight for some reason. Oh god. Wouldn't that be something? I can see it now. Him sneaking out every night to suck the blood of pretty girls. Priceless. It means I'm in trouble. Look at me. Miss one-woman comedy show here. Yup. If I'm able to get him to warm up to me, though, maybe that'll give me a little more room to make some changes. Like opening some windows. No, light and no fresh air. No thank you. Anyway, I set the candlestick down, pulled over the chair to stand on, and started wiping down the shelf. The chair's legs seemed to be uneven, as it wobbled slightly underneath me. So many books. I wonder, do they all belong to him? I knew the parchment was expensive, so it was rather astonishing seeing this many stacks of it in one place. There was even some books with bulky, extravagant decorated covers. He does come from that esteemed family. I'd spent enough time at his family's home. It was a constant bustle of servants and guests, the exact opposite of what this mansion was like. Why had he left his home? What had he done to be sent all the way out here to this remote mansion with a less than savory reputation? I need to be careful to not overstep my bounds. I am a servant now. A servant. But once the thought had crossed my mind, I couldn't get it out. I'd always had a bad tendency to chase my curiosity as soon as they struck, wishing to scratch the itch no matter how much my actions annoyed others. I couldn't do that here though. I was simply a servant, and if I got on Michelle's bad side, I risked getting thrown out. I wonder what kind of books he's into. so I attempted to distract myself. I grabbed one of the books and attempted to pull it out. What? But the strings binding the parchment must have gone entangled at the back. What? Whoa! Because the book on either side tilted back with it. Ah! And then the entire row came crashing down on top of me. Oh, for Christ's sake. I was falling off the chair, and downpour of books was still coming down on me. Wait, for narration parts, I'll just stop with the Giselle voice, because it's kind of tiring if we do that. I had fallen off the chair, and downpour of books was still coming down at me, a mountain of dust with it. Seriously? What are you doing? What? Suddenly, Michelle was there, looking down on me from a little ways away. There was, as usual, not much I could read from his expression, but I could hear a vague trace of exasperation in his voice. I was doing some cleaning and... Impressive work. I'm usually better than this. It's just so dark. Mistakes should be expected. I really think we should open some windows, Master. Get some light, some air flowing through here. I never asked you to clean anything. You did this entirely yourself. But there's so much dust. It can't be good for you. I am perfectly healthy. I don't see the problem. Had he even seen himself? No way someone skinny was perfectly healthy. You look like you have something to say. You can make out my face in this darkness? Oh, you know. I wanted to be useful, and cleaning is all about I can do here, so you know. I was sensing something else. But all right. I let out a sigh, stepping out toward the pile of books, and then reached his hand down for me. I suddenly felt a pang of embarrassment about the fact I was still splayed out on the floor, but I raised my hand to take his, only for him to pick up a book instead. You could at least help me up. You have legs, he said casually, returning the book to the top shelf. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was a terrible person. Oh, Master, are all these your books yours? Giselle asked, not a trace of remorse visible on her face despite having made a mess of the room she was supposedly trying to clean. I gave a curt nod. Really? That's impressive. It must have been hard work getting them all in there, huh? There's got to be hundreds of books here. You could fill a whole carriage at least. It's like you got your own personal library. She had been pouting only a few moments earlier. Her smile was back in short order. Her jade eyes were like little balls of curiosity, glittering in the faint candlelight. I was not particularly fond of overexpressive, rather overly curious women. Did they not care that they trampled uninvited into other people's personal spaces? Or were they not even aware that their actions were invasive? I averted my gaze from her. I received one roughly every month. I see. Wait. She turned back toward the shelves. I presume she understood the implications of what I had just said, of the fact that there were nearly 100 tomes here, and I had received one a month. Giselle fell silent. I couldn't blame her if she roughly thought my circumstances or my family or my life bizarre, but I didn't care what she thought of me. In fact, it was my advantage for her to be uncomfortable. I just needed her to stay quiet and keep her nose out of my business. There's more than I thought. I said not to her, but to myself. But I had no reason to count the passage of time anymore. Only the books serve as a record of how long I have been here. 121? What? There are 121 books. 10 years in a month. You were counting? I thought she was just busy gone quiet. What an inscrutable woman. You've been here for the magic for that long? All by yourself? The truth was, there had been times when I wasn't alone, but Giselle had no need to know that. You already know the answer. A look at pity formed in Giselle's eyes. Enough. I never asked for sympathy. I'm here by choice. You mean you're banished here? No restraint this woman. No. I came here of my own volition. I didn't care not to elaborate though. Picking another book off the floor, I brushed the dust off its cover. It was a gaudily decorated tome. That's a very fancy book, isn't it? But apparently Giselle was unable to take the hint. What's it about? I let out a sigh and opened to a no page in particular, sticking the book out toward her. She was a servant and a woman. There was no way she could read. Let's see here. This land is hardly suitable for cultivation. It can only produce over sour grapes. I would probably get more out of it if I tore down the fields and made it into the market. Sounds like a lord's diary. You can read? I was caught slightly off guard. It was rare for a noblewoman to be able to read and write, let alone a servant. Was she truly what she claimed to be? I had someone teach me. So is this book any interesting? It's dull, worthless tripe. I can't imagine why anyone thought it was worth binding. Tough crowd. But it's not very often you get to see a lord's diary. I'm rather curious of what kind of things he writes about. Lord or king, what value was there in another's grumbling? There was no knowledge contained within that book, just emotions, unsightly scribbles, and there was nothing more exhausting in this world than being emotional. If you want to read it, be my guest. That wasn't my intention, but alright. Once I got the whole mansion clean, I'll read it. I told you, you don't have to clean. Oh, I got an idea, Master. If you're interested, maybe we could read together. Did you hear a word I just said? It's dull, worthless tripe. Still, you might see it differently if you read it with someone else. And I'm sure there are some books here you would enjoy, Master. You're wasting your time. The suspicion and restraint budding between us was trite and insignificant at that point. She was still smiling after all. If I had been able to maintain that distance, then perhaps I wouldn't have ended hurting her. It had been a little under 2 weeks since I moved in with Michelle. Though we lived in the same house, we rarely saw each other. On unlucky days, I didn't see him at all. I wasn't sure if he ate in his room or our schedules were simply misaligned, but we never had any meals together. Perhaps he was deliberately avoiding me. It has to be it. I know servant and master don't usually eat in the same table, but even so, he could be little less obvious about it. Am I really that much of a nuisance? I'm not doing anything inappropriate, am I? I'm being pleasant and sociable, aren't I? I haven't given him any reason to not like me, I think. I hope. He had never been very enthusiastic about my staying here, but I haven't been given a choice. I have been sent here by his family. Besides, no, out with the negative thoughts. Gotta stay positive. Yeah, he hasn't chased me out yet. I just haven't broken the ice. I had to stay positive, optimistic, happy thoughts, and be myself. As long as I kept working at it, with enough time, Michelle would surely come around and not be so distant. I've got a goal, so let's get to work. First, I make supper, then I ask him to have it with me. Gotta be proactive when it comes to these reclusive types. Alright, here it goes. Or, here it would go. But we're almost out of supplies. Well, so much for that. The cellar was where the non-perishable foods were stored. Dried foods, smoked meats, cheese, and a small scattering of root vegetables. Looking at this makes me feel like a soldier holding out a castle's fortifications. Had Michelle had gone really 10 years on nothing but this, I would have raised a white flag long ago. He said he hadn't left the mansion at all in those 10 years. I assume he had at least at least goes out to get supplies, right? Running out of food is kind of a hard life or death situation. I can't believe he hasn't set foot outside even once in... What are you babbling on about?
Ah! Oh no, he overheard me.
I assume you were talking to someone.
Huh? Does anyone else live here, Master? I haven't seen anyone.
It is just the two of us. Alive anyway.
You mean there are ghosts?
Something of the sort.
There you go again with the jokes. I'm not a child. You're not going to trick me like that.
There are adults who believe in such things.
I suppose. But I don't really believe in ghosts or demons or curses or any of that. The church just tries to convince people they're real so they can squeeze more money out of them.
Am I going to turn you over to the church, you blasphemer?
No. I pray every day. Honest.
I don't practically care either way. I'm returning to my chambers.
What? Already? You didn't, come down for food?
I only came here down because I heard voices.
A moment. Please just wait a second.
What?
Our stores are almost empty. What do you normally do when you need more food? I'll happily accompany you on the trip to the market.
Already? That was fast.
There are two of us.
I really don't eat that much, do I? In the dim light, it was difficult to make out Michelle's expression, but I thought I could see a tinge of annoyance on his face.
Hold your ground, Giselle. You said you wanted to get closer to him. Is that parsnip?
Michelle was holding a tangled ball of roots. The reason I asked was because parsnip looked like it was on the verge of decomposition. See? There's still food. He then handed it to me.
Wait! You want to eat that? It's clearly seen better days. You're going to get sick. Or you're telling me you can survive on rotten vegetables.
Of course I won't eat it. I just figured you were hardly enough to survive.
What do you mean? What do you think I am? No, he is definitely a jerk.
Or that the resolving diarrhea might reduce your appetite.
You're kidding, right? You can't be serious. Anyway, we should bury that outside. Then we can go purchase fresh supplies.
I told you. I don't go outside.
Then how do you... Huh? A visitor? Who could that be?
Perfect timing. You're a servant. Make yourself useful and go retrieve the package. If it's not delivery, but a wanderer, chase them off.
What? Package? Master? Hold on a second. What are you talking about? He's gone. What kind of delivery is he expecting?
I guess he ordered Uber Eats, man.
Michelle stood there, unmoving, veiled in shadow. He glanced over at me, then he threw his gaze on the front door. At his command, I raised the bar, pulling open the door. After nearly 2 weeks inside, the light from the setting sun almost blinded me. The world went white and my head pounding. After a few moments of intense blinking, my eyes acclimated themselves to the evening sunlight. There was no one outside, only a crate easily large enough to fit a child. Is this the package, Master? I turned back to face Michelle, but he wouldn't meet my eyes, though it seemed more like he was avoiding looking into the light than me. He's starting to seem more and more like a vampire. Not that I believe in vampires, of course. Regardless, I pray there's nothing bad in here. That's so heavy. Master, could I get some help? Gee, thanks. I'm a servant, admittedly, but this is a lot to ask of just one girl. A little help would be nice. Once it's inside, close and bar the door. He said dispassionately, his head still turned toward the darkness. As you wish, Master. I thought she was being sarcastic since she's saying that in her brain. Once the door was shut, I found myself sucked back into the world of darkness.
It hadn't been 2 weeks, but the lack of light was beginning to become my normal. The outside world growing farther and farther away. Being holed up in here is definitely not good for me. I should go for a walk sometime, maybe plant some flowers or vegetables. Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe I can grow that old tinge of roots into some fresh parsnip. What else do we have to plant? It would be great if there were some seed flowers. Flower seeds. What are you doing? Open that box now. As you wish, master. Oh, there's food inside? In the box was a burlap sack filled with berries, root vegetables, smoked meats, as well as an assortment of breads, fruit, and wine. Aside from the fruit and bread, everything else was the same as what Michelle kept in the cellar. Ah, and beneath the burlap was a single book. One book a month. He really hasn't gone outside in 10 years. It appears you have begun to grasp the situation. Yeah, but why? This was delivered by someone from your house, master, wasn't it? A servant, I assume. Why would they leave without saying anything? No one wants to talk to a cursed man. In the past, they would occasionally check in on me, but that hasn't happened recently. They think you're cursed? Ah, right. You don't believe in curses. Then come up with your own explanation. An excuse for them to want to stay away from me. That, for example, I killed someone, or maybe that I'm insane. I couldn't. Regardless, I am not normal. Bring the food down to the cellar, the book to the library. You are, of course, free to refuse and run back into the woods. I'll do it. All right. Then you take care of that.
Hey!
What is it?
I just noticed there's something else in here. It's wrapped in cloth. What could it be? Ooh, a painting. For you to hang up somewhere in the house, I presume.
Huh?
It's so dark. I can't see very well, but I'm sure it's... Don't touch that! What?
Michelle, who had kept his distance from me until that point, suddenly marched over and ripped the painting from my grasp.
Master?
His face was twisted into a look I had never seen him make before. Was it indignation? Disgust? Hatred? Panic? I couldn't tell, but there was more than enough negative pressure to cause me to flinch back.
Is that painting perhaps, something important?
A landscape painting. He muttered under his breath, the tension melting away from his face. I was left looking at the usual blank and impenetrable expression, but his eyes were so fixated on this picture, staring at it unblinkingly. Why a landscape painting? Some kind of passive-aggressive message? It's not anywhere nearby. Did they travel somewhere? Well, it's not at that girl, so that's an improvement.
Master?
Oh, you're still here.
Still here? Of course I'm still here. Who do you think you asked to take care of the package? What's with you? Just running over and snatching the painting from me. You scared me. Could you maybe explain yourself? What's so special about that painting?
I don't believe that is any of your business.
None of my... Of course it is. You ripped it out of my hands like it was some kind of thief. I had the right to know what that was all about, and maybe an apology while you're at it. You told me to open the books, so I did. Then all of a sudden you're angry?
We are not equals. Do not mistake yourself for my friend. You have the right to know. You have no such thing.
You don't have to be so rude.
I'll say it again. Leave if you don't like it here. I never asked for you to be here. That was your wish.
My wish? Are you out of your mind? I never asked for this. I never wished for it. Who in their right mind would want to be sent out in some house in the middle of nowhere? Who would ever want to go through that? No. Calm down, little Sal. You can't get angry. You're right. This is what I wanted. But I never wanted to make you mad, or for us to argue like that. I just wanted to get you to know better, to get closer to you. I mean, it would make things smoother for the both of us. It would make living together more enjoyable for us.
Listen carefully. This is very important for you to understand. Do not try to involve yourself with me. Do not go probing around for information. If you can't do that, leave.
I...
Complete shut out. The glare he was giving me and the standoffish aura he was emanating was reflected on his tone of his voice. Why? Why did he try to push me away like that? It seemed Giselle didn't know much about me. Despite being sent here from my house, she is unaware of the monthly deliveries, as well as the reason why I live in the mansion all by myself. Why, though, would they have not told her anything? Why had she been sent here loudly completely in the dark? Giselle looked at me, fear, bewilderment in her eyes, though I thought I could see a glint of suspicion beneath it all. Like her true feelings were bubbling to the surface. Everyone has darkness in them they kept hidden. No one was exactly who they appeared to be. She was undoubtedly thinking, I'm not here because I want to be. I knew from the moment I saw her that her bubbly sweet affection was all a facade. Had she thought I was dense enough to not realize, she was no different than anyone else. What I didn't really understand, though, was why she refused to leave no matter how hard I pushed. What was she hiding beneath that innocent-looking face? What was she thinking? What did she carry out on her shoulders? Everyone is hiding something, deceiving those around them. I had to figure out who she was. May I ask you something?
Yes.
On the day you arrived, you said you made a teeny mistake while working at my family's house. Tell me about it. What did you do at the Bollinger estate? In that moment, brief though as it was, her disposition wavered. Fear? Terror? No, perhaps anger. I couldn't tell. Nevertheless, it was abundantly clear that was the subject she had no interest in me breaching, and she was so born into her fangs. The smile she now was visibly forced.
It's nothing you need to concern yourself with, Master. I promise, it was an insignificant little thing.
She couldn't say. Why couldn't she tell me? What had she done there? What did this woman know about that house? What did she know about me? What was concealed beneath the smile of hers? I am the master of this house, and you are a servant. And yet, you still refuse to tell me?
Like I said, it's nothing. There's no reason to bother you. We're a mere servant's personal blunders, Master.
What are you hiding?
I am not hiding anything.
Then you should be able to tell me exactly what you did at the Bollinger estate.
Like I said.
Tell me. Tell me.
You won't tell me a thing about yourself, and yet you demand others to tell you about themselves. Here you are, practically threatening me, demanding I tell you something I don't want to talk about, and yet you still haven't told me anything about that painting.
Oh ho. So I was right. You do have something to hide. How many times must I repeat myself? We are not equals. I don't care if it's insignificant or something you don't want to talk about.
What?
I'm ordering you to tell me. A trifling blunder would not get someone sent to live with a cursed man in the house spoken of unfavoring. Whatever she had done in the Bollinger estate, that had to be something to do with why she was here. If she truly hadn't done anything, then she had something to gain from this place, or possibly from me. And if that was the case, I had to get her to talk.
Make me.
Giselle's eyes were wide open. I recognized the look she was giving me. I knew very well that the gaze meant,
you're an abomination.
It was the same as Ben. Fear, contempt, revulsion, repulsion. The way she acted, the way she spoke, it was exactly the same. You're no different. I made her uncomfortable. I made her afraid. She thought I was unpleasant. She thought I was despicable. She thought I was an abomination. In a frenzy, I grabbed her by the shoulder, clamping down as far more powerfully than I meant to.
Stop!
Her face, contorted in pain, morphed into someone else's. Who was I directing my anger at? Where was this rage being aimed at? Who are you calling? An abomination. Tell me, who? The black fur bubbling up from me knew no end. That girl, she ridiculed me. She denied my identity with her glare. I couldn't escape from that phantom, that reality.
What? I never called you a... No, get away from me. Get your hands off me.
Giselle's scream echoed the entrance hall, rattling my eardrums. She frantically smacked my arms aside, and then I came back into my senses. She was standing a little ways away, breathing heavily, arms wrapped tight around her body, glowering at me, showing her opposition to my touching her. Enlightening.
No. You just, startled me. That's all.
Some servant you are, telling your master not to touch you.
All right. I have, I'm, allergic to people. It's a very unique condition, I hear. I mean, can you believe that? See? You know how some people get all red and itchy when they touch a dog or cat? It's that, except for people, So, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I beg your forgiveness.
Why don't you speak your mind?
What?
This is what's going through your mind right now. I have nothing to apologize for.
No, that's not...
I can somewhat sympathize with your plight, being made to apologize even though you're hurting. I raised my hand against you after all.
Then, you forgive me?
Sympathy does not equate forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you take care of that package. I'm heading back to my chambers. What is it?
You're not going to make me leave after what I just did?
No, I am not. For it seems I can make you leave on your own whenever I so please. Besides, I've yet to learn what she had done. It would be exceedingly difficult to get the story from her own mouth, which left me with one option, to write a letter to my mother, as much as the very thought revolted me. Several days had passed since the package arrived. The end of my third week living in the mansion was drawing near. Michelle wasn't getting any friendlier either. You continued to either snuff or bluntly dismiss me whenever we crossed paths. Wait, my ears. I don't know why my ears is hurting right now. I'm lowering the volume a bit. But there was a little point in asking what he seemed to think there was a little point in talking to me at all. Although at first I had been sure there was some way to get him to warm up to me. The more I spent in the mansion, the more my willpower began to feel like it was at its breaking point. I could tell myself to stay positive until I was blue in the face, but it would only work for so long.
The only pretty place in this whole house. I'm glad he hasn't covered it back up.
The blue moonlight shone quietly through the stained glass window, faintly illuminating some of the room. I hadn't noticed until now, but the room with the stained glass window appeared to be modeled after a chapel. Rows of pews faced the window, below which sat what used to be a pulpit. There was a very little of it, though, and an awkward length of silver was mounted on the pulpit's front face. What was, I assume, formerly a cross. Upon further reflection, rather than facing the window, the pews seemed to be pointed at the pulpit, or perhaps a cross hanging on it. I wasn't sure why there would be a chapel in the mansion, but I had no one to ask about it. For a house this size, a statue of Christ or Virgin Mary seems more appropriate. It's a very well-made chapel at any rate. I doubted Michel had built it for himself. There would be no reason for him to cover the window if there were the case, nor had I ever seen him to come to pray. He doesn't seem like the one to believe in God.
I'm not even sure if God really existed, then surely this world would have been a much more pleasant, peaceful place. No unfair disparities in money or power, no senseless misfortune. I certainly wouldn't have found myself here either. But God was evidently quiet, fond of giving humanity trials, so he would probably tell me with a straight face that this was one too. Or perhaps we simply had a false impression of him. He didn't actually give us anything. He merely sat back and watched from somewhere far, far away. It wasn't his job to bring peace to the world or ensure our laws were fair. That was all the mankind's responsibility. What is God? What are angels? I have no idea. Maybe the Bible has answers. Why should I pray to someone so far away? How do I know my prayer is even getting there? But still, it's not like I have any other options. Don't you worry. It'll all work out, promise. I already know where I'm going to work. It's really a prominent noble house, way out of reach of some small-time merchants like us. You never know. This could be my big break. Oh, I'm just kidding. Don't look so worried. It'll be just fine, honestly. I'll make enough money for us to get back onto our feet. Oh, for goodness sake. I can handle it. Leave everything to me. You just wait, and I'll make our family into something you can be proud of. I'll be fine. Yeah. Say bye to Mom for me. I probably won't be home for a while. What? You're afraid I'm going to make some careless mistake? I'm not that airheaded. I can be refined and an elegant young lady. These nobles wouldn't even know what to believe anymore. If you don't believe me, how about I give you a little taste? How are you doing this fine morning, master? Your morning beverage is ready, prepared with the utmost care. See? How about that? Not bad, huh? What? You really think it sounded forced? I was the daughter of a merchant who ran a shop on the capital's main street. My father had passed away in the plague, so it was just me, my mother, and my older sister. It would be a lie to say business was doing well. We struggled to sneak day by day after taxes, but we couldn't just abandon the shop and leave the capital either. So we tried to make the best of what we were able to take in between the three of us. Then my sister fell in love with a moderately well-off aristocrat. My mother and I were supportive of her and her desire to marry, but their union almost fell apart because she was not suitable for him. Merchants were hardly the lowest class. What we lacked instead was wealth. We needed another source of money beyond what the shop took in. If only we had money, my sister could get married. If only we had money, my mother wouldn't have to work so hard. If only we had money. It was then that someone from the distinguished Bollinger estate approached me. He said they were in need of Abigails and would love to have me. My neck. He said that if I agreed to work with them, the Bollinger estate would take care of my family. Generally speaking, noble houses took Abigails from other lower ranked noble houses. It was unthinkable for someone of my status to receive such an offer, so I took it as a once in a lifetime chance and accepted the offer. I just pray that nothing bad happens to my sister, and that Mom is getting enough money to live comfortably. That's all I can do. They're nobility. They have plenty of money, enough to spare some. The light shining through the stained glass window began to grow murky, fading into blackness. It felt like a message from on high that no, my prayers would not be answered. The bluish white illumination shining down upon me disappeared as clouds blocked the moon. Oh, come on. You don't even want to look at the sullied woman like me? Oh, for heaven's sake. I never asked to end up like this. Their nobility. They have plenty of money, enough to spare some.
Oh god, she's talking to herself aloud.
Oh, come on. You don't even want to look at a solid woman like me? Oh, for heaven's sake. I never asked to end up like this.
Giselle was sitting on one of the pews in the room with the stained glass window. Just looking at her, you might have thought she was offering a prayer, but the words coming from her mouth were anything but prayerful. They were filled with resentment.
They have plenty of money.
A solid woman.
And then I never asked to end up like this.
So this is what is beneath that facade. Most likely money's what she's after. All I need to do is confirm my suspicions with them. Just what awful secrets will I uncover? I gave Giselle, sitting in a pew with her head drooped, a cursory glance before leaving the chapel. I had somewhere else to be. The bitter cold outside air feels like dozens of needles floating in my lungs. It had been so long since I stepped beyond the mansion's walls. A thick mist canopied the night sky, blocking out the moonlight. Naturally, the heavens did not rejoice at me leaving the house. It had been 10 years since I'd seen the mansion from outside, and it hadn't changed one bit. A gloomy scar upon the earth, shrouded in darkness. Hardly the kind of place someone would enthusiastically approach. Nevertheless, it had been better than that house.
Yes? Who is it?
Michelle.
What? Michelle Bollinger. Just one moment. I'll be right there. Come in. It's a humble ado, but make yourself at home.
I actually have no idea if it's a dude or one. Oh man. Wow. I must say, this is rather unexpected. It was one word, and I would have been up there in a heartbeat. And how was I supposed to do that? I regretfully flesh out of carrier pigeon. Right, yes. My apologies. This man living in a small cottage, not far from the mansion, had been hired by the Bollinger family. His job, to watch over me. That said, we never actually interacted. He was tasked with keeping track of whether I was still alive, and whether I remained in the mansion. The monthly package from my family was delivered to him, which he passed on to me. It is insipidly convoluted, but indicative of how much they wanted to avoid anyone learning about me. Well then, what can I do for you? The manservant was visibly rattled, afraid too, but not because of the difference in our social ranks. I had a pretty good idea he had been told about me. He was afraid of me, or more specifically, my curse. People fear that which they cannot comprehend, not just children, adults as well. They fear demons, witches, and curse. Anything impure or not of this world. I had long since gotten used to being viewed as such. It didn't sadden me. It didn't disappoint me. It didn't pain me. Some things were too foolish to concern yourself over. Though it certainly doesn't make me feel good either. I was, on some level, annoyed. That woman's appearance at the mansion had created ripples in my once tranquil life. So before I got into a real reason of my visit, I decided to take out a bit of my frustration. Raise your head. There's no need to be afraid. I don't know what you've been told, but I promise I don't bite. How rude of me. You're right. My sincerest apologies. Okay, that's a weird accent. Your job is to keep watching over me. If a mere sight of me has you trembling, what would you do if I tried to run? I have little trouble escaping. And that would be quite unfortunate. What would I ever tell your mother? I'm not sure that would end well at all. You could lose everything you've been paid so far. In fact, you might be lucky to get out with your life. Surely your mother wouldn't not. You are aware of who you're dealing with, right? Michelle, the cursed youngest son of the Bollinger family, who made a pact with the devil. I don't need a blade to take your life. You wouldn't even make it back to report anything. Have mercy, Lord Michelle. Please, do not leave the mansion. Please, spare me. Only joking. What? I don't have the power to kill by way of curse. The man fell silent, but the look on his face said, You are cursed though, aren't you? Once someone got an idea planted in their head, it's nigh impossible to get rid of it. I am so cursed that anyone can see it, that I need to be locked away in the dark mansion. I'm here because I had a question for you, not to warn you that I plan to run away. A question? For me? Yes. Approximately 3 weeks ago, a black-haired woman came to my mansion. Tell me what you know about her. I was told there would be an Abigail coming, but that's all. I don't know anything else about her. I swear, that's all I know. I haven't been told anything else. I believe you. I never thought they would tell you anything. Right. He had been hired to observe me, but that's all he was, a hired hand. He wouldn't be privy to the Bollingers' internal affairs. Take this. A letter? I need you to deliver it to my mother. You could have just left it in the box from the month's package, and I would have collected it when I dropped it off the next one. I'm in urgent need of information. Will you do this for me? Yes. Why, yes, absolutely. I'll fetch a delivery boy tomorrow morning. Much appreciated. Good night. You too. Do take care. Yeah, the dude he'd never seen for fucking 10 years, if he was always the same dude. Lord Michelle? Yes? Is it true that you don't have... Would you like me to sew your mouth shut so you can never open it again? Not at all. My sincerest apologies, Lord Michelle. That was a horribly disrespectful. Good night. Curse, I most certainly am. My mother's response arrived just 10 days later. The delivery boy must have pushed his horse quite hard. It was almost exactly a month after Giselle had moved in. And shortly thereafter, on a bone-chilling night, everything came crashing down. The rift between us grew deeper, and the walls between us impossibly high. When I lay bare, the scars in her chest, and the merciless plunge of my knife into them. What the fuck? Let me say for a while.
How did we get to this point? I hate everything.
My spirits was getting darker and darker, like they were slowly sinking into deep morass. I had been at the mansion for a month, and every day felt twice as long as it should have. I had been optimistic at first. I had even had a little hope that me and Michelle could get along together, but it hadn't taken long for that hope to be shattered. The cheer locked away inside me. We lived in the same house, but we never spoke anymore. On the few occasions we did cross paths, he just gave me a cold glare and nothing more. Scorn and suspicion in his eyes. Whenever he looked at me like that, it felt as though my throat was being constricted, like I was in deep underwater and running out of air. Like my very presence in the world was a crime. I never could have imagined how agonizing constant rejection was. I started despising others, despising myself, despising the world. So convinced there was no one who could set me free, I considered running away from everything rather than live like this another day. But I would have done so long ago if that was actually an option. If they found out I had fled, that I had acted outside their wishes, my mother and sister would pay. I had succeeded in allowing my sister to get married and my mother to live comfortably, and given them happiness. I couldn't take that away from them again, not after I had to go through it to do it.
No, cut that out. Getting way too depressing, Giselle. Pull yourself together. That's not who you are. Be positive.
The negativity. Wait, I'm so tired now. I think this is it for me. I'm gonna continue playing, but I can't narrate this shit anymore. I mean, we could do quiet reading, but I just want to lie down in my bed and continue from my bed. I'm sitting in the chair, so I want to do it in the most chillax, lazy manner. Anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed listening or watching, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the next stream. Who knows? I might start in door 6. I'm really rushing right now because considering RE4 is coming out Thursday, so you know, I gotta spend a lot of time on this game while I can. RE4 is gonna be a priority, and once it gets out on Thursday, I'll be playing it straight until I finish the game. Anyway, I hope to see you guys on the